Hello coders, good afternoon. Today we're going to crack on with where we were left off last week with this whole PHP registration course, and that was that we were just about to start the controller, the view, the routing system of this course. So at the moment, just to quickly recap, at the moment, what I'm doing is I'm live streaming the build of these courses. I haven't done any documentation yet for this course because I'm still in the planning phase, shall we say, of the code. So I'm creating the code as we go. And then once I'm happy with it, once we've got to a point where I'm comfortable that that is going to go into the course, then what I'll do is I'll document the steps to get to that point. So it's a very long process, and we are sort of halfway through, I guess. Maybe no, slightly more than a quarter of the way through the planning phase, the experimental phase. And last week we did we finished off the database stuff. So that was connecting to the database, querying the database, selecting items, deleting records, inserting records, updating records. All of that is done, and it's tested. So if I was to go into the code here, and if I was to run, say, let's take xdebug off for a second. Let's get into the terminal here, and then run. If we run PHP unit, that's all good. If we ran integration, that's all good. Now, I've had to skip 2 tests, but it's perfectly fine. Those tests are a bit redundant anyway. They're just checking for issues with the exceptions and stuff. So if I was to run PHP unit all coverage, this would generate a coverage report. And if we had a look at the coverage, which is based in reports, here we go. If we go to I think it's index, click on U, bring that over here. There we go. Then we can see all of the. So we're currently stood at 100%, which is great. So we've covered all of the database interactions, which is nice. So now, and also, if we go to here and we just type in composer test, that should do all of the tests, including it's a good job I tried this one, including the coding standards and PHP stand, but it's failed on this. Let me fix this first, and then we'll get into the controller stuff, because it's always good to kind of recap what you've done, because I only touch this once a week, so every Tuesday. So right now, okay, this error here is function closing brace must go on the next line following the body, one blank line before the brace. Now it's saying that it can fix one of these. It can fix this one. And I would do this by, I believe I've got this as composer clean. So these are just console scripts. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, yeah. So total of one one error was fixed. So let's do composer test again, and it should do. So it's not found anything with PHP CS. It's running now PHP stan. There's 2 errors on stan. Let's go and fix those first. Unreachable statement, code always above, always terminates. DB test. Okay, let's have a little look at those. So, it's testing the integration. Okay, this might be because of those skip tests. Give me a second whilst I get into that. So that is in. I don't normally do this, but I think this is a good thing to do. Get PHP stan to actually review your tests. I think that's quite a good thing. Okay, so tests. We're looking at integration. We're going into database and DB test. Yeah, so this is unreachable code here. What I'll do, I've marked these as skipped. What I'll do is I'll just get rid of them because they're pointless tests anyway. There we go. Let's run this again, and fingers crossed PHP stand will now pass. Yep. And now it's doing the unit tests, and then after that it'll do the it's done all the tests. So yeah, that's all good, and it's generated the code report that we've just seen. So let's go and refresh that a second just to make sure that that is. Let's do reverse search of all. Let's just generate that again. There we go, 22 tests, and that was 22 tests. Yeah, 44 assertions. So let's just double check before we actually move on to the controller stuff. Just want to be 100% sure that we are ready to go. So let's hit that again. Let's bring that over. Yeah, I can see that already, that is now all good. So what we want to do is start building these controllers. And what I've done is I've created some very basic methods, well, stubs, I suppose you could call them, and sort of a description of like a story of how this should act. So this is a login journey here, and then we have in user controller we've got /user displays the user in a read-only view, and then we've got user edit, so edits the user. Then we've got like on submit and stuff, and of course there'll be more because this application is going to be registering, logging in, and then allowing the user to not only edit their details but also delete their account as well. So there'll be others in here. So what I would like to do today is just play around, and I haven't done this in a while, in the whole play around with building a sort of a routing system, and just sort of see how it feels. So we are going to be doing some unit tests today. And we're just gonna play. We're just gonna play. Nothing serious. I'm not intending on getting this completely finished today, not at all. So it's gonna be very chill. Right. So what I want to do, the first thing I want to do is start thinking about how the routing system will work. So I'm not using any frameworks at all in this, so this is just going to be pure vanilla PHP. However, I am going to be relying on PSR to help me structure the way the messaging between the request and response sort of hangs together. So I believe it's PSR 7 that has that HTTP message and the request interface and the response interface, those interfaces that I will need, but we'll probably need them later on. The way I foresee this is that we're gonna have a router class that will hold many routes, and those many routes will have the definition, if you will, of what those routes are. So there'll be thinking off the top of my head, there'll be a name of the route. So say, for instance, homepage or user_profile or user_edit or whatever. And then there'll be the URL. So the URI, I mean, as in the path to get there. Then there'll be probably methods. So some of these are GET requests, some of these are POST requests, some of these are going to be both. Then there's going to be perhaps parameters. I haven't quite worked out yet how everything is going to be structured in terms of a URL perspective, but I need to think about how to handle parameters in the query string. So today what I'm going to do is just break it down and go to the very smallest degree here, and that is where we define a single route. So a single route will consist of, as I said, a name, a path, probably some arguments, and some methods. So first of all, let's start building a failing test. That's probably a good thing to do. So from here, I can think about how to structure it. So for example, we have, let's think. I think I'm going to call this routing. Right, I'm doing this all off the top of my head. Routing, and then I'm gonna have root test. Okay, cool. Let's just see how the other tests are set up, what they need. Okay, so I'm just going to copy all of that stuff and put it into our root test. Because what I reckon will happen. Oh, I didn't do that. What I reckon will happen is that we'll have like router, root. We may have some middleware. And all of those I'm going to just sort of build and test. So that's the root test. Root test extends test. That's what I wanted. Test case. You'll have to forgive me if I'm being a little bit slow today. I have been in a world of SQL today, so my mind is not even on the PHP language today. Okay, so what do we want on the root test? Let's define the namespace properly. So that's going to be routing. I guess what we want to do is test name. Right, that's going to be course. Sorry, I was going to do test name and then go into a subselect. So public function test name. Is it? It is test name, isn't it? That is the way you do it. I gotta remember. Yeah, it's test and then the thing that you want to test. Fine. Okay. So it's going to be obviously return void. So essentially, what we want to do is create a root. Now, obviously, none of this exists. This is just a failing test. Is equal to a new root. And what we would like to do is say root. Do we want, now this is the thing, do we want to have setters? Do we want to have getters? Do we just want to put this straight into the constructor? I mean, let's have a look at the, I guess we need to have a getter, right? So to actually get the thing that we want to test. So let's do assert same. Let's say that we want to get the home page, right? Or let's say we want to get let's do login, because we know what that will be an actual root that exists. So let's do root, and then let's do get name. That's the name of the root. And maybe we should pass in the name as the first parameter. So in this case, we want to pass in login. So it's a simple accessor test here. It's just making sure that we have get name. Maybe I think we'll do it from just the constructor, because if I was to think about all the things that we need, so let me just start this from here. So let's do, so we got name. No, that's not. See, this is what happens when I try and do this and I break my flow. So we got the name, we have path, we have methods, we have parameters, right? Because let's say the name is equal to login. Let's say the path is equal to /login. Let's say the methods are an array of both get and post, and then the parameter can be an optional, and the parameter could be like that, right? So let's say if we were to create a new root, let's say this was like user, and then we would have like ID. So I need to think of some sort of pattern, right? So we could do like this, so ID. We could do like that or something. I don't know. I haven't really thought this ahead. But you would have like 4 here, and then with this you would have like ID. If I can spell it, is equal to 4, and it would know that this goes in there. Actually, no, we're defining the root, not the request. So in this case, this would be ID, right? And it would know that that is that, and it would change that. So at the moment, we're only in the definition phase. Okay, so all right. Let's leave it at that. All right, let's run this test. It'll fail, obviously. It'll complain because we don't have the rooting root thing. So let's go ahead and do that. So class root doesn't it doesn't exist. So let's go and build that now. So let's do a new directory. Let's do rooting. Forgive me if you can hear the dogs barking in the background. They're perfectly fine. And then, yeah, I guess, yeah, it's app, isn't it? Sorry. So new class. So this is going to be root. That's good. Yeah, it's not that, is it? It's going to be just app. And I guess we have a, now we're using PHP 8, so we don't actually, we could rely heavily on property promotion here. So we could have a public function, which is obviously our constructor. And we could have name, which is a string. And this is going to be obviously private. Okay. Is that complaining because it's not used? Yeah, it's only read-only. Okay, so then we would have a public function get name, which would return this name. Okay. And that would return a string. So because we are using PHP 8, I believe we could use, see, that should now change back. That should be fine. Probably can be read-only. No, leave it. Oh, what have I done? I've put that in the actual tests. That's not clever, that's the last. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to put it in there. Delete. That's what I'm looking for. Yep. Right. Okay. So in here, we could do in the root test. We could say, now that needs to. We need to use root. So in here, we could do name, if I can, is login, like that. Okay, so let's run the test. That should now hopefully pass. Yep, cool. I'm just going to get rid of this one. We're going to do one for the path as well. So we'll bring that into here. And so this is test path. So we'll do path, and the path for the login is just /login, and then we want to get login like this, get login. No, get path. Sorry. Right, let's build that. That should fail. Good. It's unknown parameter path. That's great. Let's go back into there. Let's change this to put in a private path, which is again a string. And we just need the same thing here, right? So that is a path. Again, it's a string. That's no problem. Without a Z, Pete. Come on. Yes, I'm using PHP unit for all the things, for all the testing, both database testing as well as the normal unit tests. I've called them unit test and integration test. Integration test hits the database, For each test, what it does is it deletes or rebuilds the data from a given SQL file. Right, so let's see. Does that now work? No, it doesn't. Okay, so too few arguments. Oh yes, because that's not a default. Forgive me. Yes, so I need to pass in the name as well. So we need to do name. I don't need to put in these named arguments, but whatever. I'm still sort of playing around with how this all feels. So we're also going to have to do something with this as well. So that's the path. In fact, we can probably refactor these tests, but cannot use positional. Oh yeah, I need to, because I've put, yeah, okay. Right, okay, that's cool. Now, I've totally forgotten what the third thing should be. I believe it needs to be the method, the methods, so it's an array of, I think. Let me think. The name, the path, and the methods. Yeah, all right, yes. Okay, so in the test here, we've got another one. So this is going to be test method. We'll do test. Yeah, test methods. So that's great. And then we want to have an array where we have methods, and that's going to be an array where we have get and post. So we want to, instead of doing the assert same, we want to do assert in is not an array. No, can we do contains? That's what I need to do. Contains the needle where we have get in root get methods. That should return that array. And we could also do another one for post as well. Okay, that sounds good. Run that. Right, yeah. So we now go back up to our router and we say, right, we need to have methods in here, which is a private array of methods. Okay, that's cool. Do we give a default method? Maybe not. Because you would have to overwrite the default. Right, so this is this methods. Oops. Methods, and that's returning an array. Right, let's run this again. This should hopefully pass. No, okay, it's not passing. Oh, right. Now, because I'm adding all of these things, I'm going to need to do the same with all of this. But to be honest, I'm just going to put in a blank array. Yeah, no, sorry, I am going to have a default default method. Yes, no, I am going to have a default method. So in our router here, we're going to have methods is equal to get. There we go. So run this now, which means that the other tests should pass because that's set to default. So what I'm going to do, just to verify that, just to be 100% sure that that is what I want, so in the future when I run the test it will complain, I want to do assert same assert contains, and we're going to call this test default. It's test defaults. We want to make sure that get is in get methods. There we go. by default. Okay, so that's good. Let's now run composer test to run all the things. PHP CS, PHP stan, all that jazz. So we've found an issue with my formatting, which is fine. So we'll see if we can fix that. 3 of them were fixed. Let's now run composer test again. Hopefully it'll all go swimmingly. No, 3 errors found. All right, so method constructor has a parameter methods with no value type specified in an iterable type array. Yes, so yes. So what I need to do here is I need to say, okay, let's pass in an array and actually demonstrate the shape of this. So I think I can just go with string, I believe. I think that's, I've forgotten how to do it. I should just be able to run stan, right? Test stan. Give me a second, it'll fail. Yeah. Totally forgotten how that works. It's not that way around, is it? I think I've got an example somewhere. I think it's, isn't it that way round? And I think that needs to be in arrows, greater than, less than symbols. Yeah. Okay, what's this? Method app get methods return type has no values type specified in. Okay. Scroll down. Here we go. We need to define what that shape looks like. So it is string. I think that's array of string. Sorry, there we go. I think, is that good enough? No, that's saying array or a string. That's not right. No. There we go. Okay, so that's good. So it's just saying that there is a string, and yes, it's just saying that that's a string. Now, let me think. Do we need to have things like finding out whether or not a route is a particular, like if it's a GET request, if it's a POST request? Maybe we do. I mean, maybe we do. Whether it's in the router, in the actual route or not, I don't know. Maybe we need to have something that handles that. What I'm thinking is, I'll just cut some code here. What I'm thinking is like a public, something like this. Public function is method, and then you pass in like post, and then it gets the method and discovers whether or not it's a post on, you know what I mean, and then returns a boolean. I think actually it needs to happen outside of this class. I think we need to move on and make an handler, sort of a route handler. I think. Let me grab some water first because I am thirsty. It's getting hot in this room with all the lights on. Yeah, so obviously when we get to the controller, right, we need to work out whether or not the request has come through with a certain method or not. So when we handle that request, but maybe it isn't this. Maybe that's on the request side, not the route side. This is just defining the routes. All right, scrub that. That's probably for another time. I was thinking, like, you know, with Symfony, you've got that method, the handle request method. You pass in the request object that we haven't even built yet, and then from there we can work out whether it's a post request or a GET request. So I think my brain is like 5 steps ahead at the minute of where I am at the moment on the code, which is typical. Right. So I guess the next thing to do then, are we done with the router? The route, not the router, the route. So we got the name, we have the path, and we've got methods, an array of methods. Is there anything else that we need to do at this stage? I think at this stage it's fine. I think maybe though we need to deal with those arguments, you know, the parameters. I don't know whether we need to do that in this class or whether we need to do it in what that would entail is it would split out the things between the slashes using some fancy reg expression, which my head is not even in at the minute to do regular expressions. So it would carve up the path. So say this path here is like, when we define it, it's like user ID, and then the supplied path is user like 1. Then what we can do is say, well, okay, that's been supplied, that's the pattern that it matches, and therefore this is the root. But maybe that's for another class. I don't know. Okay, so we've got the root. Now let's talk about the router. Let's sort of step out of this a little bit and go into the router, I think. So the router is a collection of roots. So if we were to bring, let's play around a minute with this. I suppose we could just carry on with the testing actually. I'll demonstrate what I mean in terms of the testing. So let's go to the router test now. So it's a router test, and I'll show you what I'll just dump things out of my head, I think. So we won't actually run a test in this, but what we want to do is we'll have like router is equal to new router. Okay, this hasn't been built yet at all, and what we want to do is pass in an array of roots. So it's essentially going to be like that. Then it's going to be like let me think. So that would be login path. Then we've got register, which is register. This is going to have have the methods. Let's just take out these named parameters for a minute because they're just going to get in the way. I think I've come up with my structure. So this is going to have like a get and a post. So is this one. And then why is that complaining? No spaces after the comma. What? Are you just being annoying? Okay. And then we're going to have one like, so we've logged in, we've registered. Let's walk the chain. So let's register, let's log in, register, then log in. Then what we've got is a prof or user underscore profile. So that's going to be /user. That's going to be a get request. And then we've got another route for user profile edit. So that's going to be user edit. And that's going to be a get and a post request, because this one is going to just show you a read-only page of your details. Then you're going to click on an edit button. That's going to bring up a form, which is going to be in the get request. But when you submit the form, it's going to be a post request. So that view needs to handle both of them. Then there's going to be another one called user profile delete. because this one will be the delete routine. Yes, I think that kind of covers all the routes actually, does it not? Register, login, user profile, user edit. I'm going to just get rid of profile, just go user edit. There we go, that's cleaner. Yeah, I think we might be there, but that's essentially what was in my brain, which I needed to come out, get rid of, get out. Why is this all failing? Is it just because expecting a statement? What have I done wrong? I've done something wrong with, oh, yeah. There we go. Yeah. So I guess what we need to do from the router's perspective, like if we think about it further down the line, we need to have a means of actually throwing things at this router, actual requests, right? So this is where we're getting into some this is, yeah, again, I haven't tested any of this, I'm just throwing things out of my brain. So what I'm thinking is that we get some magical request that comes in. So let's say request path is equal to, say, let's just do register for a minute. And what we want to do is then go like router, and then maybe we go get root or something, passing in the request path, and then obviously that request path will have parameters. Maybe if we were to do let's do like this one, for instance. No, actually, thinking about it, none of these will have parameters because everything will be done through the session. Yeah, because I don't want to have IDs on the URL, I don't want to have IDs because you can have the incremental attack, so that's not a good idea. So maybe we just don't bother with the parameters. Anyway, yeah, so that would then get the particular route, and then from there we would need to actually, hang on a minute, thinking about it, let me think a little bit deeper, because we need to define the controller in which the routes are linked to. Yeah. So not only do we need the route, but we need to have the way in which the route is handled. So we could have, how are we going to do this? One route for every, one route will have one controller action. So in this case, we would have something like security controller, and we would let me think, controller, security controller. We've got login. Yeah, we need to have another one called register. And back into our lovely test here, we need to do security controller class, because that's the class in which we want to hit, and then we want to fire off a method which is register, and then we'll do the same things for all of this stuff. So this is going to be security controller login. This is going to be security controller, user controller, forgive me. And that's going to be, what's that going to be? We go to user controller here. That's going to be index. And then this one is going to be user controller edit. I don't know if I've got that yet. Yes, I do. We also need to have another one called delete. So if we go back to here, so that's edit, and then, oops. Yeah, and then we have another one here called delete. Right, so this is how you would generate this is how you would define your routers, your router. You would have an array of routes that have a name, a path, methods, and the class in which the controller lives in, and the method in which the controller calls. Yes, I think that's what we need. And then maybe why is this all red method? Oh yeah, because of the amount of parameters and stuff. Yeah, and then here we've got the request path, and then we're saying router get request path, get route. So that would be route is equal to you, and then you could have something like route get controller, maybe. You could have controller is equal to controller, get controller there, and then what you would do is then do controller, and so that's the instance of the controller. No, sorry. Controller is equal to that, right? That's the class name that comes back. So then you would do new controller, and then you would do controller, then you would do action, get action. So none of these methods exist yet at all. These are just in my brain. I'm just going to get them out in a minute. Action. I think this is how you would do it. New control. Oh yeah, because that needs to be, sorry, that needs to go in there like that. That is then the action. Like that, and we want to pass in any parameters. Yeah. So then we would do response is equal to you. Something like that. I don't know. I've just made all that up on the fly. So okay, so let's backpedal a lot because there's quite a lot here to dissect. I don't think that is strictly correct, but let's just run with it. Let's go up here. There's a few things that we need to do. When we define the route, we need to define the class and the action in which that's taken. We haven't done that yet in our tests. So what I'll do is I'll just mark this one as skipped for a second, just so we can get our tests to pass. Mark test as skipped. There we go. And then let's just make sure that the tests will run as expected. I'm just going to run the unit tests for a second. I know that there's going to be a lot of formatting issues and stuff, so I'm not going to worry about that. I've gone and forgotten what the command was. PHP unit. There we go. Lots of problems. It's probably because I've broken this class, right? Yeah, it might be worth me instead of doing marked as skipped. Unless I've just find the issue. What's the issue? Unreachable statement. more expression is not. What's this? I've definitely broken something. Let me just comment these lines out for a second. Still broken. Right, on line 33. Let's run that again. Yeah, it's still buggered. Right, come on, I'm looking for a line number. Syntax error, unexpected single quote, expected in line 98 of, oh, that's in command. That's not what I need. Let's see if we can go up here a bit. Line 33 again, which I've commented out. So let's comment the whole thing out. Right, there's something wrong with this. Let's uncomment this for a second, and this. And then this, and run this. Good. Right, uncomment you. Good. Uncomment you. So one of these is failing. Oh, I've seen it. It's that. There's a comma in the quote in the wrong place, or a missing quote. There we go. So I'll run this again. It should pass, and then I'll uncomment all of this jazz. Yeah, it's not liking that. Expected semicolon. There we go. All right. And I suppose eventually when we get down to the view, we would do something like echo response, and we would pass that would be an object, so we would want to do response something like get body or something like this, or get content. I haven't worked any of this out. That will print it to the page. Okay. Right, so let's get cracking on this one then. We've got security controller class and register. So we need to pass these two things in as now. Should we pass this in as an array rather than two separate things? I think we should. Although we want to make sure that there's only one. No, maybe we should just leave it as is. So I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's getting quite heavy, isn't it, in terms of parameters? I can refactor it later. That's fine. I'll refactor it later. It's okay. So back into here. Actually, what are we going to call these things? Would this be controller name? Controller action, maybe. Not sure. Can you put the controller class and the method inside an array? This way the user can set a callback function to. That is a very good point. Thank you. Yes, I will do. I will do the PSR goodness when we get to it. Yep. Yes, that's a good idea, putting them in as an array. So it would be like that. So what would the array be called? Would it be called handler? Because this is how we handle the controller handler. Maybe that's too much of too verbose. I'm not entirely sure. I suppose we also need to have another route, don't we, for the homepage? Which I haven't done yet. So I guess this would be homepage class, and that would be index, I guess. Just create a new class. Home, just do home controller. Yeah, I'm thinking as I go. Public function index. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So, so we're going to call this handler then, and it's an array. And, whoops! I tell you what. Let's get back into our TDD. So what we want to do is create a test in here that public function test handler. Oops. So we need to pass in all of this jazz as the root and our handler. So we have, let's do first, this is we know that this is default, so that's fine. We're going to do home page, we're going to do that, and we're going to do the handler as home controller class, and then index. Okay. What's wrong with that? Can't use, oh yeah, sorry. Handler, there we go. Because methods should be defaulting to get anyway, so that should be fine. So in fact, in this, there's no need for that. But we will need to do named parameters for that to work. So that's path, and then that is handler, because we're skipping out the method, but handler doesn't exist yet. That's where we're going to get the failure from. But what we want to do is self assert is array, which is root get handler, like that. Now we run this, it's going to fail obviously, because it's saying that oh, test defaults is going to fail. Why is that? Oh, that was the skipped. That was the router, sorry. Unknown parameter handler, here we go. So we go back up to there, and we have private array handler, and scroll down here, we do public function get handler. This handler, and that's going to return an array. Right, so here we go. Too few arguments on the constructor on line 21. Is that because now in here, yeah, so I'm going to need to pass in the handlers here. So this would be handler, this would be something like home controller class index Cool. All right, let me just adjust these so that would be, so they're actually the right things. Security controller, that would be login. Then we've got security controller, that's also login. And yes, that's also security controller. Login, okay. Okay, so what's going on here? Uncaught exception, root test line 34. Aha. Right, so argument 3, methods not passed. Let me think. Okay, let's start from the top. Optional parameter methods declared before required parameter handler is implicitly treated as a required parameter. Oh. Okay, yeah, so this is on line 16 of the root test. So up here, line 16, yes. So we have home handler. So what we need to do is we need to go over to our root. Yep, we need to get into the root, and then we need to pass in this as the last one, and hopefully because of the name parameters we should be good, he says. And then right, we've got get handler return value must be type of array but none is returned. That's interesting. So that's on the actual test itself. So down here, missing parameter methods int array. Oh yeah, no, that's my ID just didn't catch up. So we're passing in our handler here, but when we do is array get handler, that should return an array. So it's it's not being set properly. Let me update that for a second. Why is that? What's going on? Get handler return value must be type of array but none returned. Must be type of array but none is returned. Handler this. Oh, idiot. Helps if I return it. There we go. Right, finally. Okay. Cool. Why does this look like it's angry at me? Okay, right. So what I think I'll do at this stage is run the clean routine, and then because I think CBF has found 13 errors in 3 files, and that's been fixed. So let's just optimistically run our test pipeline again, and we have some issues with, what's that, CS, here we go, line 34, line exceeds 120 characters, contains 131, okay, yeah, so it's the same deal. So root test, what's that, line 34, this up here, yes, okay, what I'll do then is I will hey Saggy B, great username. Thank you for subscribing. You might not be watching on the live stream. You may be watching one of my videos and have subscribed. Thank you very much. If you are in the live stream, if you're in the chat, give us a wave, give us a nod. That'd be nice. It's always nice to see new subscribers coming in. Thank you very much. Yes, I just caught that. Thank you for letting me know about that return. Okay, so does not match the okay, sort the arguments out. Fine. Yeah. Hopefully this will sort it out. What's the time? Okay, yep, I'm good. Right, let's try that again. On line 13 now. Is this a different file? Root. Ah, this is on the actual class, right? Yeah. Up here. Just PHP CS, my rules are just saying that they're too long. These lines are too long, that's all. Okay, so then this is where it all goes wrong when I do the clean routine and CBF puts them on the extends the lines, but apparently that seems to be okay. Let's run the test again. I'm not confident that PHP Stan will pass. Here we go. Yeah, it's failed. 8 errors. Lots of problems. Right. So home controller has no. Okay, that's fine. That's to be expected. It's because in my controllers, what I've done is I've created a bunch of controllers that don't do anything. So I'm just gonna void them for now. That's the only one in there. I think that's good. Five errors now. Scroll to the top. Right. As a parameter, handler with no value type specified in the iterable type array. Okay. And then this one here is test handler has no return type specified. And this one we know about because that's saying that there's unreachable code, and that's fine. So let's just deal with this one. This looks like the easiest one, which is root test.php, and it is line 56. Line 56, and it is complaining because there is no return type. Okay, I think that should do that one. And then this one here is complaining because the root argument has an array where we have it's going to be a string. Can we also do callable as well? Ah, come on. Ah. Right, let's just run those again. Okay. No, still complaining. Return type has no value specified in an iterable array. Line 39. Line 39, line 39. Aha. Yeah, okay. I need to do the same thing. Okay, let's get this going. Okay, and now we're back to our unreachable statement where we got to the router test. Excellent, because we're marking this as all skipped. So that was just a brain dump, really. I need to put this somewhere. I need to put this somewhere. I suppose what we could do is just I'll say test root collection, right? Because this will be, I guess, at some point a test. But I will just comment everything out just so PHP Stan is at least happy. And what I will also do is put a little to-do up in here. Yeah, no, that's cool. But I will have a little at to-do, and then have complete test. And I'll just put in a little bit of a note here: tests that a collection of roots can be made. Yeah. Okay. So let's run all of these things again. And we should, fingers crossed, be in a good position. Yeah. So what's going on here? Okay, but one skipped or risky test. What's this? Oh, right. Okay, that is just this here. Fair enough. Let's get rid of these dumb roots here. These imports. Let's make sure that the imports on this one is okay. Yeah, that's good. Cool. Okay. Well, I mean, I know we've just created a class, a single class, but I think we've done quite well today in terms of just, you know, brain dumping all the things that we need to do. The next stage would be to create the router, which is like a collection of all these roots. And then once that's done, we need to then create the mechanics of actually how to map a route to how to map a request to a route. So hang on, I've got a question here from Abdul. What does the router return when it fails to match a requested path? That's a very good question, because I guess in the real world that would return a 404. So I need to, yes, that's a good point. So I would need to consider that as a case. That's a good point. Let me put in a test for that, just as a sort of a test, that a sort of a stub. So public function test match request, and we'll do void on this one, and we'll just put in some notes. So test that a valid, well, let's call it what it is. It's match valid request. There we go. I know what that does, and then we can do match invalid request. So should return a valid route should return a route to the 404 page. So perhaps what we should do, no, I was going to say maybe we need to have a controller for errors, but actually what we should do is just return the response with the 404 status code. So this should, yeah. And because we're dealing with a router, we're not actually dealing with that. Probably needs to return null, and then we capture that. Should return a, so should return null, which is then checked like later down the line, and responds with a 404 status code, something like that. We'll do marked as skipped at the minute. And before I shoot off, I'm going to just run, first of all, we'll just run everything again, just to be nice and clear that this should all work. I don't want to leave today with it failing. That's good. And then we'll do a test PHP all coverage. Let's just see what the coverage is like. We started this stream with 100% code coverage. I'm hoping that that is the same deal. I don't know if that actually did a thing. Did it do the thing? I don't know. Let's have a look at reports index. Yes, that's all looking good to me. Oh, I could have just refreshed that page. Whatever. Yes, that's all looking good. Cool. Yeah. Right. I do apologize for just being half here and half somewhere else today. I've been dealing with so much SQL. Yeah. So my brain hasn't really been here. I need to decompress, I think. So unfortunately, today is not a gym day. It's a rest day. But that usually means my brain gets full of stuff. I need to go and read a book, I think. Right, I'm going to shoot off. Next week we'll continue down the line and we'll continue the root collection and how that responds and stuff. And we'll just, I think this is going to take several streams to flesh this out, this part of this out. And then once that's done, we then need to work on the templating side of this stuff. But this is essentially how it's going to be, like rinse and repeat. We're going to do a little bit of work. We're going to make sure that the tests are all passing. You know, we'll do nice and small bits as it goes. And we'll try and do as much TDD as we can at this stage. Right, I'm going to shoot off now. Take care, everybody. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate all your comments. Thank you very much, Abdul. That was awesome feedback. Thank you. Oh, yes, I've just seen your call user func array. Yeah, that's a nice little method as well to add to the mix. Cool. Thank you very much. Happy coding, everybody, and I'll see you again shortly. Bye-bye. Cheers.